What if I told you that by the time you're 70, you could lose up to 40% of your muscle mass? I know it sounds terrifying, but here's what most doctors won't tell you. There are 7 everyday foods sitting in grocery stores right now that can literally reverse this process, not slow it down, not just maintain what you have, but actually rebuild the muscle you've already lost. I've spent the last 15 years researching exactly what happens to our bodies after 60, and more importantly, what we can do about it. If you're watching this video, chances are you've noticed it too. Maybe your legs feel a little shakier going upstairs, or you can't open jars like you used to. Maybe you're worried about falling, or you just want to stay strong enough to play with your grandchildren. Here's the thing. After age 30, we start losing muscle mass. But after 60, it accelerates dramatically. We're talking about losing 3 to 8% of our muscle mass every single year. That's not just numbers on a chart. That's your independence, your confidence, your ability to live the life you want. But I have incredible news for you. The process that doctors call sarcopenia, this muscle loss, it's not inevitable. In fact, with the right foods, you can actually reverse it. I'm talking about people in their 70s and 80s getting stronger than they were in their 60s. I've seen 75-year-olds deadlifting more weight than people half their age, simply because they knew what to eat. Now you might be thinking, come on, it can't be that simple. And you're right, it's not magic, but it is science. See, your muscles are constantly breaking down and rebuilding themselves every single day. The question is, are you giving your body the right building blocks to rebuild stronger, or are you accidentally starving your muscles? Over the next 20 minutes, I'm going to share with you 7 specific foods that can transform your muscle health. Not complicated recipes or expensive supplements, just real food you can find at any grocery store. I'll tell you exactly how much to eat, when to eat it, and why each one is so powerful for rebuilding muscle after 60. But before we dive into these muscle-building powerhouses, I need to share something with you. Most of the advice you've heard about eating healthy as a senior, it's actually working against you. The low-protein diets, the fear of certain foods, the timing of your meals, we've been doing it all wrong. And that's exactly what we're going to fix today. Food number 1, Greek yogurt and the mistake of not eating enough protein. Let me tell you about Margaret. She's 68, lives in Ohio, and when I first met her, she was convinced she was eating plenty of protein. I have chicken for dinner, she'd tell me. I eat yogurt sometimes. But when we actually tracked what she was eating for a week, you know what we found? She was getting maybe 30 grams of protein a day. 30 grams. Now, you might think that sounds reasonable. After all, that's what the standard recommendations say, right? But here's where the medical establishment has been getting it completely wrong for seniors. Those old guidelines were designed for young, healthy adults. They weren't designed for someone whose body is fighting to maintain muscle mass every single day. The research is crystal clear now. And this is based on studies from Harvard, Johns Hopkins, and medical centers around the world. If you're over 60, you need significantly more protein than younger people. We're talking about 1.2 to 1.6 grams per kilogram of body weight. For most people, that's somewhere between 80 to 120 grams of protein per day. That's nearly triple what Margaret was eating. Why do we need so much more? Think about it this way. When you're younger, your body is like a highly efficient construction crew. Give it a little protein, and it builds muscle beautifully. But as we age, that crew gets a bit slower, a bit less efficient. You need to give them more materials to get the same job done. When Margaret was only eating 30 grams of protein a day, her body was essentially in a constant state of muscle breakdown. Every night while she slept, her muscles were being torn down for energy. Every morning, she woke up a little bit weaker than the day before, and she had no idea this was happening. So what changed everything for Margaret? Food number 1, Greek yogurt. Now I know what you're thinking. Yogurt? Really? That's your big solution? But stay with me here because Greek yogurt is absolutely revolutionary for muscle building. And here's why. Regular yogurt, the kind most people buy, has about 6 grams of protein per cup. Greek yogurt? It has 20 grams. That's more than triple the protein in the same amount of food. But it's not just the quantity, it's the quality. Greek yogurt contains all 9 essential amino acids that your body can't make on its own. These are the exact building blocks your muscles need to repair and grow stronger. There's one amino acid in particular that's like rocket fuel for your muscles. It's called leucine. Greek yogurt is packed with leucine, and this amino acid literally turns on the switch in your cells that says, "Start building muscle now." Scientists call this muscle protein synthesis, and leucine is the key that starts the engine. Margaret started having Greek yogurt every single morning, just 1 cup with some berries. That's it. Within 2 weeks, she told me she felt more energy. Within a month, she was walking up her basement stairs without holding the railing. 6 months later, she'd gained back 8 pounds of muscle mass. Here's exactly how to use Greek yogurt in your daily routine. First, timing matters. Have it within 2 hours of waking up. Your muscles are primed for protein in the morning after fasting all night. Second, choose plain Greek yogurt, not the flavored stuff that's loaded with sugar. Add your own berries, a drizzle of honey, maybe some nuts for extra protein. You can also have Greek yogurt as a post-activity snack. Did you go for a walk? Did some gardening? Have half a cup of Greek yogurt within an hour, and you're giving your muscles exactly what they need to recover and get stronger. The best part? Greek yogurt is budget-friendly. It's available everywhere, and it lasts in your fridge for weeks. Margaret spends about $4 a week on Greek yogurt, and it's literally rebuilding her muscles every single day. But Greek yogurt is just the beginning. There's another huge mistake I see seniors making every single morning, and it's probably happening in your kitchen right now. Food number 2, eggs and the mistake of skipping protein for breakfast. Picture this. You wake up, shuffle to the kitchen, pour yourself a cup of coffee, maybe grab a piece of toast or a muffin, and you think you're starting your day right. But what's actually happening inside your body is a muscle emergency that most people have no idea about. See, while you've been sleeping for 8, 9, maybe 10 hours, your body has been in what scientists call a fasted state. During this time, your body has been breaking down muscle tissue to get the amino acids it needs for essential functions. It's like your body has been eating your own muscles for energy all night long. When you wake up, your muscle protein breakdown is at its highest point of the entire day. Now, if you start your morning with just coffee and carbs, toast, cereal, a bagel, you're basically telling your body, hey, keep breaking down those muscles. I'm not going to give you the protein you need to rebuild. And this happens every single morning, day after day, month after month, year after year. I learned this the hard way from Robert, a 72-year-old retired teacher from Arizona. Robert was what you'd call a healthy eater. He had oatmeal every morning, never missed his coffee, watched his cholesterol. But by age 70, he'd lost so much muscle mass that he couldn't lift his own luggage anymore. His wife had to help him get up from low chairs. He was frustrated, embarrassed, and thought it was just part of getting old. But here's what changed everything for Robert, and it can change everything for you too. The research shows that if you eat high-quality protein within 2 hours of waking up, you can literally flip the switch from muscle breakdown to muscle building. And there's one food that does this better than almost anything else. Food number 2, eggs. Now, I know eggs have gotten a bad rap over the years. Cholesterol concerns, heart health fears, but the latest research has completely cleared eggs for most people. And for muscle building after 60, they're absolutely unmatched. Here's why eggs are so powerful. First, they contain the highest quality protein on the planet. Scientists measure protein quality using something called the biological value, and eggs score a perfect 100. That means your body can use virtually every gram of protein in an egg to build muscle. Compare that to most plant proteins, which score between 50 and 70. But here's the real magic. Eggs are loaded with leucine, that same muscle-building amino acid I mentioned with Greek yogurt. Just 2 eggs give you about 1.2 grams of leucine, which is enough to trigger muscle protein synthesis and start rebuilding your muscles first thing in the morning. Robert started eating 2 scrambled eggs every morning instead of his oatmeal. Just 2 eggs, nothing fancy, nothing complicated. He'd scramble them with a little olive oil, maybe throw in some spinach or tomatoes. The transformation was remarkable. Within 3 weeks, he noticed he had more energy throughout the day. Within 2 months, he was getting up from chairs without using his arms. 6 months later, he'd gained back 5 pounds of muscle mass and was lifting his own luggage again. Here's exactly how to make eggs work for your muscle health. 2 whole eggs give you about 12 grams of high-quality protein. That's a solid foundation for your morning protein needs. You can scramble them, hard-boil them the night before for a quick breakfast, or even make an omelet with vegetables for extra nutrition. If you're worried about cholesterol, here's what the current research shows. For most people, the cholesterol in eggs doesn't significantly impact blood cholesterol levels. Your liver actually produces most of your cholesterol, and when you eat cholesterol, your liver just makes less. But if you have specific heart concerns, talk to your doctor. They can help you figure out what's right for your situation. The beauty of eggs is their versatility and convenience. You can buy them anywhere. They're incredibly affordable. We're talking about maybe 50 cents worth of eggs, giving you premium muscle-building nutrition. Hard-boil a dozen on Sunday, and you've got grab-and-go protein for the entire week. Robert now calls his morning eggs his strength insurance. 2 eggs every morning, and he's literally insuring his muscles against the breakdown that happens naturally with age. But eggs are just one piece of the puzzle. There's another food that most seniors avoid completely, convinced it's bad for their health, when in reality, it could be the key to rebuilding their strength. Food number 3, lean beef and mistake avoiding red meat for health fear. I can't tell you how many times I've heard this. Oh, I don't eat red meat anymore. My doctor said it's bad for my heart. Or, red meat causes cancer, so I stick to chicken and fish. And I get it. The headlines have been scary. The advice has been confusing. And when you're over 60, you want to do everything right for your health. But here's what might shock you. By avoiding red meat completely, many seniors are actually accelerating their muscle loss and putting their long-term health at greater risk. than if they ate moderate amounts of the right kinds of red meat. Let me tell you about Dorothy, a 74-year-old from Michigan. 5 years ago, after a scary cholesterol reading, her doctor told her to cut out all red meat. Dorothy was diligent. She switched to chicken breast, fish, and lots of vegetables. She thought she was doing everything right. But over those 5 years, she lost 15 pounds of muscle mass. She started falling more often. Her energy plummeted. She went from being independent to needing help with groceries, with yard work, with things she'd done easily her whole life. The problem wasn't that Dorothy was eating too much red meat before. It was that she eliminated a crucial source of nutrients that her aging muscles desperately needed. You see, lean red meat contains nutrients that are incredibly difficult to get from other sources, and these nutrients are absolutely critical for maintaining muscle mass after 60. Food number 3. Lean beef, specifically 93% ground beef or cuts like sirloin. Now, before you click away thinking I'm crazy, let me explain the science. First, lean beef is one of the most concentrated sources of complete protein you can find. A 4-ounce serving of 93% ground beef gives you 28 grams of high-quality protein. That's nearly half of what many seniors need for the entire day in one small serving. But it's not just the protein. Lean beef is loaded with iron in a form called heme iron that your body absorbs incredibly well. After 60, iron deficiency becomes surprisingly common. And low iron means low energy, weakness, and yes, accelerated muscle loss. The iron in beef is absorbed 3 to 4 times better than the iron in spinach or other plant sources. Lean beef is also one of the best sources of vitamin B12, which is crucial for nerve function and energy production. Many seniors are deficient in B12 without even knowing it. And this deficiency can feel like premature aging, fatigue, weakness, cognitive fog. And here's something most people don't know. Beef contains natural creatine. You've probably heard of creatine supplements for athletes, but your muscles naturally use creatine for quick energy and strength. As we age, our natural creatine levels drop, but eating beef helps maintain those levels naturally. Dorothy was hesitant when I first suggested adding lean beef back to her diet. We started slowly, just 4 ounces of 93% ground beef twice a week. She'd make simple dishes, beef and vegetable stir-fries, lean beef chili, or just seasoned ground beef with sweet potato. Within a month, she noticed her energy was better. 3 months in, she was carrying her own groceries again. 6 months later, she gained back 6 pounds of muscle and was back to doing her own yard work. Here's how to incorporate lean beef safely and effectively. First, choose the right cuts. 93% ground beef, sirloin tip, eye of round, or bottom round. These cuts are naturally lean and won't spike your saturated fat intake. Second, portion control matters. 3 to 4 ounces, about the size of your palm, is perfect. Third, frequency. 2 to 3 times per week is the sweet spot for muscle benefits without overdoing it. For cooking, skip the frying. Try grilling, baking, or slow cooking. Make a big batch of lean beef chili on Sunday and eat it throughout the week. Season your ground beef with herbs and spices instead of salt. Pair it with plenty of vegetables to balance the meal. If you're still concerned about the health aspects, here's what the current research shows. Moderate consumption of lean, unprocessed red meat as part of a balanced diet doesn't significantly increase health risks for most people. The problems come from processed meats like hot dogs and bacon, and from eating large amounts of fatty cuts regularly. Dorothy now calls her twice-weekly beef meals her strength sessions. She's not eating steak every night, but she's giving her muscles the complete nutrition they need to stay strong and functional. But what if you don't eat meat at all? What if you're vegetarian or just prefer plant-based options? Don't worry. There's a plant-based protein that's just as complete and powerful as any animal protein, and most people have never even tried it. Food number 4, quinoa, and mistake not including complete plant-based protein. Here's a conversation I have all the time. I'm trying to eat more plant-based foods, but I'm worried I'm not getting enough protein for my muscles. Or, my daughter is vegetarian and she keeps telling me I don't need meat, but I don't know how to get protein without it. And honestly, both sides have valid points, but they're missing something crucial. The mistake I see constantly is this assumption that you need to choose sides. Either you eat animal protein or you eat plant protein. But the smartest approach, especially for muscle building after 60, is to use both. And there's one plant-based food that's so powerful for muscle building, it rivals any animal protein you can find. Let me tell you about Frank, a 67-year-old from Oregon who'd been vegetarian for 20 years. Frank was proud of his plant-based diet, but by his mid-60s, he was struggling. His energy was low, he was losing muscle mass, and his doctor was concerned about his protein levels. Frank was eating beans, nuts, and vegetables, but he was making a critical mistake that most plant-based eaters make without realizing it. See, most plant proteins are what we call incomplete. They're missing one or more of the essential amino acids your muscles need. Beans are low in methionine. Grains are low in lysine. Nuts are missing several amino acids entirely. Frank was eating protein, but his body couldn't use it efficiently for muscle building because the pieces of the puzzle were missing. But there's one plant food that changes everything. It's been called a superfood, but I don't like that term because it's overused. This food is special because it's one of the very few plant sources that contains all 9 essential amino acids in the right proportions. It's what we call a complete protein, just like eggs or beef. Food number 4, quinoa. Now, you might be looking at me skeptically right now. Quinoa? That expensive health food stuff? But stay with me, because quinoa is absolutely revolutionary for muscle building, and here's why. First, quinoa isn't actually a grain, it's a seed. And this seed packs an incredible 8 grams of complete protein per cooked cup. That might not sound like much compared to a piece of beef, but remember, this is plant protein that your body can use just as effectively as animal protein because it has all the essential amino acids. But quinoa's muscle-building power goes beyond just protein. It's loaded with magnesium, which is crucial for muscle function and recovery. Most seniors are deficient in magnesium without knowing it, and this deficiency can cause muscle cramps, weakness, and slower recovery. Quinoa also contains iron, B vitamins, and fiber, all nutrients that support overall health and energy. Frank started incorporating quinoa into his meals 3 times a week. He'd make quinoa salads with vegetables and olive oil, use it as a base for stir-fries, or simply substitute it for rice. The transformation was remarkable. Within 6 weeks, his energy levels improved dramatically. 3 months in, he was gaining muscle mass for the first time in years. His doctor was amazed by his blood work improvements. Here's how to make quinoa work for your muscle health. 1 cup of cooked quinoa gives you those 8 grams of complete protein. But you can boost that by combining it with other plant proteins. Make a quinoa and black bean salad, and now you've got 20 grams of protein in one meal. Add some nuts or seeds, and you're approaching the protein content of a chicken breast. The key is preparation. Quinoa has a natural coating called saponin that can make it taste bitter if you don't rinse it first. Always rinse your quinoa in cold water before cooking until the water runs clear. Then cook it just like rice. 2 parts water to 1 part quinoa, bring to a boil, then simmer for 15 minutes. I know what you're thinking. But quinoa is expensive. And yes, it costs more than rice or pasta. But let's put this in perspective. A pound of quinoa costs about $4 and gives you 16 servings. That's 25 cents per serving for complete muscle-building protein. Compare that to a protein shake or supplement, and quinoa is actually incredibly economical. You can buy quinoa in bulk at warehouse stores to save money, or look for it in the international aisle of your grocery store, where it's often cheaper than in the health food section. Red quinoa, white quinoa, tricolor, they're all nutritionally similar. So choose based on your taste preference and budget. Frank now calls quinoa his plant-based insurance policy. He's getting complete protein from plants, supporting his vegetarian lifestyle while building and maintaining muscle mass. At 67, he's stronger now than he was at 60. But here's something that might surprise you. Even if you eat plenty of protein, there's one type of inflammation that could be quietly sabotaging your muscles every single day. And most seniors have no idea it's happening. Food number 5, salmon and mistake. Ignoring omega-3 for muscle health. Here's something that blew my mind when I first learned about it, and it's going to change how you think about muscle loss forever. Most people think muscle loss is just about not eating enough protein, but there's a silent saboteur that's been destroying your muscles from the inside out. And 90% of seniors have no idea it's happening. It's called chronic inflammation, and it's like having a slow-burning fire inside your body that's constantly breaking down your muscle tissue. This isn't the inflammation you feel when you sprain an ankle. That's actually helpful inflammation that promotes healing. This is different. It's invisible, it's constant, and it accelerates muscle loss dramatically. Meet Patricia, a 71-year-old from Florida. Patricia was doing everything right. She was eating plenty of protein, exercising regularly, taking her vitamins. But she kept losing muscle mass and strength. She'd wake up every morning feeling stiff and achy. Her joints hurt. Her energy was low, and despite eating well, her muscles kept shrinking. When we tested Patricia's blood, her inflammation markers were through the roof. Her body was in a constant state of inflammation, and that inflammation was literally eating away at her muscles faster than she could rebuild them. It's like trying to fill a bucket with holes in the bottom. No matter how much protein she ate, the chronic inflammation was canceling out her efforts. The breakthrough came when we added one specific food to Patricia's diet. A food that's not just packed with high-quality protein, but also contains powerful anti-inflammatory compounds that can literally turn off the inflammatory processes that destroy muscle. Food number 5, salmon. Now, I know salmon isn't exactly groundbreaking news. You've probably heard that fish is good for you. But what you might not know is that salmon is uniquely powerful for preserving and building muscle after 60. And it's not just because of the protein. Yes, salmon is an excellent source of protein. A 4-ounce serving gives you about 25 grams of complete, high-quality protein. But the real magic is in the omega-3 fatty acids, specifically EPA and DHA. These aren't just good for your heart and brain. They're absolutely crucial for muscle health. Here's what happens when you eat salmon regularly. Those omega-3s get incorporated into your muscle cell membranes, where they act like natural anti-inflammatory agents. They literally turn down the inflammation that's been destroying your muscles. At the same time, they improve insulin sensitivity in your muscle cells, which means your muscles can better use the protein and nutrients you're giving them. But there's more. Salmon is one of the few food sources of vitamin D, and vitamin D deficiency is epidemic among seniors. Vitamin D isn't just for bone health, it's crucial for muscle function. Low vitamin D levels are directly linked to muscle weakness, increased fall risk, and accelerated muscle loss. Patricia started eating salmon twice a week, nothing fancy. Sometimes she'd bake it with lemon and herbs. Sometimes she'd buy canned salmon and make salmon salad. Within 3 weeks, she noticed something amazing. She was waking up less stiff and achy. 2 months in, her energy levels were higher than they'd been in years. 6 months later, not only had she stopped losing muscle mass, she'd actually gained 4 pounds of lean muscle. Here's how to make salmon work for your muscle health. Aim for 2 4-ounce servings per week. That's enough to get significant anti-inflammatory benefits without overdoing it. Fresh salmon is great, but don't overlook canned salmon. It's incredibly affordable, convenient, and nutritionally just as good as fresh. A can of salmon costs about $3 and gives you 2 servings of muscle-building, anti-inflammatory nutrition. For preparation, keep it simple. Bake salmon at 400 degrees for about 12-15 minutes, depending on thickness. Season it with herbs, lemon, a little olive oil. You can flake canned salmon into salads, make salmon patties, or even add it to scrambled eggs for a protein powerhouse breakfast. If you're concerned about mercury, here's the good news. Salmon is one of the lowest mercury fish you can eat. The benefits far outweigh any risks for most people. If you're pregnant or have specific health concerns, talk to your doctor. But for most seniors, salmon is not only safe, but incredibly beneficial. One tip: look for wild-caught salmon when possible. It tends to have higher omega-3 levels than farmed salmon, but honestly, any salmon is better than no salmon. Even the farmed variety will give you significant muscle and anti-inflammatory benefits. Patricia now calls her salmon dinners her inflammation insurance. She's not just eating for protein, she's eating to actively fight the processes that were destroying her muscles. At 71, she's stronger and more energetic than she was at 65. But salmon isn't the only food that can work overnight to rebuild your muscles. There's one more protein source that works while you sleep, literally repairing and rebuilding your muscles all night long. Food number 6, cottage cheese and mistake overlooking dairy's muscle benefits. Here's a question I bet you've never thought about. What happens to your muscles while you sleep? Most people think sleep is just rest time for your body, but the truth is, your muscles are incredibly active during those 7 to 8 hours. They're either rebuilding and getting stronger, or they're breaking down and getting weaker. The difference comes down to one crucial factor that most seniors completely ignore. Let me tell you about William, a 69-year-old retired mechanic from Texas. William was frustrated because he was doing everything the fitness magazines told him to do. He was lifting weights 3 times a week, eating protein at every meal, getting plenty of sleep. But his progress was painfully slow. He'd work out, feel good for a day, but then feel like he was starting from scratch every time he went back to the gym. The problem wasn't what William was doing during the day. It was what wasn't happening at night. See, your muscles do most of their repair and growth while you sleep, but they need a steady supply of amino acids throughout those long nighttime hours. William was eating great during the day, but by hour 4 or 5 of sleep, his amino acid levels were dropping, and his muscles were switching from building mode to breakdown mode. This is where most seniors make a critical mistake. They focus on calcium when they think about dairy, bone health, preventing osteoporosis. But they completely overlook dairy's incredible power for muscle building, especially one specific type of protein found in dairy that works like a time-release capsule for your muscles. Food number 6, cottage cheese. Now I can almost hear some of you groaning. Cottage cheese, that lumpy bland stuff from the 1980s. But hear me out, because cottage cheese is about to become your secret weapon for overnight muscle building. Cottage cheese is packed with a special type of protein called casein. While whey protein, the kind in Greek yogurt, gets absorbed quickly and triggers immediate muscle building, casein works completely differently. It forms a gel in your stomach and releases amino acids slowly over 6 to 8 hours. It's like having an IV drip of muscle-building nutrients flowing through your bloodstream all night long. 1 cup of cottage cheese gives you an incredible 25 grams of protein. That's more protein than most people eat at dinner. But it's not just the quantity, it's the quality and the timing. When you eat cottage cheese before bed, you're literally feeding your muscles throughout the night, preventing the muscle breakdown that would normally happen during those long fasting hours. But cottage cheese has another secret weapon. It's incredibly rich in leucine, that same amino acid I mentioned earlier that triggers muscle protein synthesis. Just 1 cup contains over 2.5 grams of leucine, which is enough to stimulate muscle building even while you're sleeping. William started having half a cup of cottage cheese about an hour before bed. Sometimes he'd mix in some berries or a drizzle of honey. Sometimes he'd add a little cinnamon. Within 2 weeks, he noticed he was waking up feeling less stiff. A month in, his workouts were more productive. He wasn't starting from scratch every time. 3 months later, he'd gained 7 pounds of muscle mass and was lifting weights he hadn't touched in years. Here's how to make cottage cheese work for your overnight muscle building. Have it 30 minutes to an hour before bed. This gives it time to start the slow release process. A half cup is plenty for most people, giving you about 12 or 13 grams of casein protein. If you don't like the texture, try mixing it with Greek yogurt or blend it into a smoothie with some fruit. For those who say cottage cheese is bland, you're not wrong. But that's actually a good thing. It's like a blank canvas for flavors. Try it with berries and a touch of honey for something sweet, or mix in some herbs and use it as a savory dip. You can even use it in recipes, cottage cheese pancakes, lasagna filling, or as a substitute for ricotta cheese. Quality matters with cottage cheese. Look for brands with minimal ingredients, just milk, cultures, and maybe salt. Avoid the ones loaded with stabilizers and artificial ingredients. Full-fat cottage cheese is actually better for muscle building than low-fat versions because the fat helps with the slow-release properties and keeps you satisfied longer. William now calls his bedtime cottage cheese his overnight muscle insurance. He's not just preventing muscle breakdown while he sleeps. He's actively building muscle around the clock. At 69, he's lifting heavier weights than men half his age. But cottage cheese isn't the only budget-friendly muscle builder that seniors overlook. There's one more food that costs pennies per serving, but delivers muscle-building nutrition that rivals expensive supplements. Food number 7. Lentils and mistake-thinking beans are just carbs. Here's a conversation I have all the time with seniors. I'm trying to cut carbs to stay healthy, so I've stopped eating beans and lentils. And I understand the logic. After all, beans do contain carbohydrates, and we've been told that carbs are the enemy. But this thinking is costing seniors one of the most powerful, budget-friendly muscle-building foods on the planet. Let me tell you about Helen, a 65-year-old grandmother from Kansas. Helen was living on a fixed income and trying to eat healthy, but she was struggling to afford enough protein-rich foods. She'd eliminated beans and lentils from her diet because she thought they were just starchy carbs. Instead, she was spending her limited grocery budget on expensive protein powders and supplements that were draining her bank account. But Helen was making a costly mistake. Literally and nutritionally, she was overlooking a food that delivers more protein per dollar than almost anything else in the grocery store, while also providing nutrients that are specifically crucial for muscle function in seniors. Food number 7. Lentils. Now, you might be thinking, lentils? Those little dried things I see in the health food aisle? Yes, exactly those. And they're about to become your secret weapon for affordable muscle building. Here's what most people don't realize about lentils. 1 cup of cooked lentils contains 18 grams of protein. That's nearly as much protein as 3 ounces of chicken breast, but at a fraction of the cost. We're talking about maybe 30 cents worth of lentils, giving you the same muscle-building power as $3 worth of meat. But lentils aren't just about cheap protein. They're what we call a complete nutrition package for muscle health. They're loaded with folate, which is crucial for creating new muscle cells. They contain iron for energy and strength, magnesium for muscle function, and potassium to prevent muscle cramps. Most seniors are deficient in several of these nutrients without even knowing it. Helen started incorporating lentils into her meals 3 times a week. She'd make big batches of lentil soup on Sundays, add cooked lentils to salads, or use them as a base for hearty stews. Her grocery bill actually went down, but her nutrition went through the roof. Within 6 weeks, she had more energy than she'd felt in years. 3 months in, she was carrying her grandchildren again without her back aching. 6 months later, she'd gained 6 pounds of muscle mass on a budget that was actually smaller than before. Here's how to make lentils work for your muscle health and your wallet. Red lentils cook the fastest, about 15 minutes, and break down into a creamy consistency that's perfect for soups and stews. Green and brown lentils hold their shape better and are great for salads and side dishes. Black beluga lentils have the most robust flavor and work well as a meat substitute. The beauty of lentils is their versatility. You can cook a big batch on Sunday and use them throughout the week. Add them to soups for extra protein, mix them into salads for a hearty lunch, or season them with herbs and spices as a side dish. In many cultures, lentils are combined with rice or other grains to create a complete amino acid profile. Think Indian dal with rice or Middle Eastern miyadra. 1 cup of dry lentils costs about $1 and makes 2 to 3 cups when cooked. That's 6 to 9 servings of high-quality protein for $1. Compare that to protein powders that can cost $2 or $3 per serving, and lentils are clearly the winner for budget-conscious seniors. If you're worried about digestive issues, start slowly. Begin with half a cup of cooked lentils a few times a week and gradually increase. Make sure to rinse them before cooking. and consider soaking them for a few hours if you have a sensitive stomach. Adding digestive spices like cumin, ginger, or fennel can also help. Helen now calls lentils her budget muscle food. She's getting premium nutrition at poverty prices, and her muscles are thriving. At 65, she's stronger than she was at 60, and she's spending less on groceries than ever before. If you've stayed with me for the past 20 minutes, you've just learned something that could transform your next decade of life. Here's the beautiful truth. You don't need to overhaul your entire life. Small, consistent changes create big results. Start with just 2 of these foods this week. Add 1 or 2 more next week. Within 4 to 6 weeks, you'll start feeling the difference. More energy, better balance, tasks that felt difficult becoming easier again. Now I want to hear from you. Which food will you try first? Will it be starting your morning with Greek yogurt? Or maybe picking up some canned salmon on your next grocery trip? Drop a comment below and let me know your plan. I read every single comment, and your commitment might inspire another viewer to take action too. If you've already tried any of these foods, share your success story. Did adding eggs to your breakfast give you more energy? Has cottage cheese helped you sleep better and wake up less stiff? The community loves hearing real results from real people. And here's something special. If you implement these foods consistently and see results, come back and update us in a month or 2. Your transformation story could be featured in a future video and help inspire thousands of other seniors. If this information has opened your eyes to what's possible for your muscle health, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. I'm committed to bringing you practical, science-based strategies for staying strong and independent after 60. Next week, I'm releasing 5 exercises that build muscle after 60. No gym required. Perfect companion content to what you've learned today about nutrition. Also, please share this video with any friends or family members who might benefit. The sad reality is that most seniors will accept muscle loss as inevitable, never knowing that foods sitting on grocery store shelves right now could change their lives. Before you go, I want you to remember this. Your strongest years don't have to be behind you. I've seen 75-year-olds get stronger than they were at 65. I've watched 80-year-olds regain independence they thought was gone forever. Every single meal is an opportunity to rebuild. Every day is a chance to get stronger. Your muscles are incredibly resilient and ready to respond, no matter your age. All they need are the right building blocks, consistently provided. You now have the roadmap. The only question is, will you take the first step? Thank you for watching. Thank you for investing in your health. And I'll see you in the next video. Now go make your next meal count. Your muscles are waiting, and your strongest years are still ahead of you.